I made you another board. The reason we need this board is because it is the missing piece that is helping us do what we're doing as the Pro Genocide marketing team. The reason we need this is because we're going to be relying on a lot of the Islamophobic tropes and a lot of the ideas that people fear about Muslims to keep them quiet and to keep them neutral and to keep them believing that this is nothing to do with them. In order for us, again, to understand why we're saying what we're saying in the way that we're saying it, we have to understand who we're talking to so that we understand their fears, so that we can use their fears against them. So in this instance, we're relying on Islamophobia as it's been manufactured specifically in the Western countries. And I say this because as all good marketers do, we segment our audience. So the question that we have to ask ourselves is, what do or what does the West have in common? Because once we know that, we can use fear of the unknown to tell people that there just exists 1.8 billion people that they can fear. It's very good. So here's what we have to do. We have to figure out the pillars of the West that go unquestioned in many people in the West and things that they live their lives by. And then we're going to tell them that the opposite to that exists somewhere else in the world. So a way to demonstrate that this specifically goes for the West, I'm just giving you an alternative way of thinking. This will make sense when I do the first one. For example, in the West, something that we keep saying and we live our lives by is the concept of do no harm. I say this because in many other places in the world, an alternative example is just do active good. And this phrase do no harm doesn't exist elsewhere. It's very specific to the West. Another example of something that we pride quite highly in the West as we know it is the scientific method being the top tier of knowledge. That is, again, just not the case for many other places in the world. They pride things like knowledge of faith, knowledge of spirit, knowledge of self. All of this stuff is classed as the highest form of knowledge, and scientific knowledge just sits somewhere else on the spectrum. The last one here is the idea of pragmatic thinking being the lead to progress, and progress again being the aim of society. We must all be progressing towards whatever it is as a society in the West. And again, that's very specific ideals of the West, because another way of doing this is social cohesion being the pinnacle, which in many cultures it is, and the way that we can get there is by intuition and instinct rather than this pragmatic keep your feelings down and suppress kind of all anger, rage. That doesn't help us, all that kind of stuff. These don't all belong to the same culture. I've just used them as a way to show you that an alternative exists. Now that we are agreed that these are just some of the pillars that the West lives on, we're going to just say the opposite to that. And I'm going to tell you that's what Muslims do. Simple. It's really, really simple. So instead of do no harm, I'm just going to tell you that these Muslims do active harm. And I'm going to tell you the reason they do active harm is because of their faith. And then you're going to hate it so much on such a fundamental level that you won't stop to be like, is there 1.8 billion people really causing harm? That doesn't sound good. You like scientific methods as a way to gain knowledge. I'm just going to tell you that their beliefs are nonsensical. I'm just going to tell you that there's absolutely no logic in their belief system. And again, you won't stop to think to be like, surely they have PhDs and schools and universities there. Surely they exercise some kind of critical thinking as well as faith. You won't even do that. You can be like, I don't like it. I don't know where those people exist in the world, but I hate it. Done. Another way that I can do this is you like pragmatic thinking and you like progress, and you specifically like that pragmatic thinking is the way to get to progress. I'm just going to tell you these people rely on feelings. I'm going to tell you they're volatile. I'm going to tell you that they're violent. I'm going to tell you that they are completely irrational because they don't exercise pragmatic thinking, because they don't care about progress, because they are backwards. And you're going to be like, I just hate them. I hate that they're backwards. I hate that they don't like progress like I like progress. And it's going to work. Just a note, these are just demonstration purposes only. I could have written equality here, equity here, and they hate women here. It works, right? Just figure out a pillar, an alternative for the devil's advocate, and then just say the opposite. And people won't even stop to think. They'll be like, ugh. Anyways, this is helpful to us as pro-genocide marketers because this is what we're going to say. I'm going to tell you that Hamas is Muslim. And then you're going to be like, surely Palestinians are also Muslim. And I'm going to be like, yeah. So I'm going to use Hamas and Palestinian interchangeably. Same with Muslim. And you're going to say that they are bad. Done. Also going to tell you that this is a religious war. If I tell you this is a religious war, you're going to be like, well, this was nonsensical from the beginning. These people had it coming. None of my business. I'm going to stay silent. And then I'm going to tell you they've always been starting the beef, these Muslims. And you're going to be like, well, of course they have, because they're volatile, they're violent, they're irrational. And they don't care about progress. And it's going to work. That's how you manufacture Islamophobia in the West.